everyone, welcome back. Now we're going to cover inheritance and polymorphism in OOP. So in inheritance, we're going to create a class that will inherit methods and attributes, how you handle attributes from a parent class. You will be able to reuse all of the work that you did before. You will be able to reuse it in the child class. We call it parent class and child class. So the child class, you don't need to rewrite the methods. You can just go ahead and reuse them. In polymorphism, you will be also able to modify a method if it doesn't apply identically, and you can change it a little bit. You can change it as you please. So I'm going to show you examples of that. So we're going to be basing it on the same person class that we did before, that we used before in the previous video. And now we're going to create a student class. So likewise, like before, we create a class by using the keyword class followed by the name of the class. In this case is student. But this time we're going to add an argument within parentheses. And that argument is the name of the parent class, which is person. By now, when you run this code, you should already have defined the person class, of course. And similarly, you will have a colon, and everything that follows is indented. In this case, just for practicality, I didn't add more documentation, but I showed you how you add documentation with the triple quotation marks. So you can explain what your class does. Try to follow that practice anytime, especially when you're working on a project and you need to come back and understand what your class does. Okay, so first thing we do, just like before, we need to have a method that is a constructor. In this case, the constructor is init, right? That you see here. Well, it's always underscore init, followed by 2 underscores. So init with underscores before and after, 2 of them before, 2 of them after. Then similarly as when we created person, we need self, which is the object in itself. Then the attributes that we're going to need. So we have to repeat name, age, city, and state like we had before, right? And because we're creating a new student, and that student is a person, but that student has a name, an age, from a city and from a state. We're going to add other attributes. In this case, we're going to give it student ID, which I'm going to call student underscore ID, and the number of credits that the student has. Maybe already transferred from another college and already has credits when you create the student, or by default, if you don't pass any credits when you create the instantiate a student, it'll by default take 0 credits. Just like we did with functions. You can put a default, as you can see right here. Then we're going to use the parent class, in this case is person, by using this method that's called super with parentheses and dot notation. And you're going to init that superset or that super parent class. And that parent class needed name, age, city, and state. Just like before when we instantiated person 1 and person 2, we instantiated persons 1 and 2 by passing name, age, city, and state. Same thing here, except we are going to do that to super. And we do the instantiation within the constructor, within the init. So when you instantiate super, you're actually passing the name, age, city, and state, and you're also getting back all of those methods that you had invented in the class person. So we will be able to reuse those methods here, and you'll see when we go over the examples below. Okay, but now we have new attributes, student ID. So whatever you pass to student underscore ID, we're going to assign that value to self that student ID. Credits, whatever credits you pass, that value for credits, we're going to assign it to self.credits. And that's how the constructor will work. Now, the next method introduced is, for me, a way to explain polymorphism. We already have introduced above in the person class, but it says, it has a different message, right? If I go back and show you, it says, hello, my name is the name, I live in city and state. All right. But now, because this is a student, I want to say things that a student will say. Hello, or say, hi, I am, then the name of the student, dot. I am a student with ID, then the student ID. I live in, then the city and state. So very similar to what we had before, but not the same. So this is an example of polymorphism, where I am using the same method, the same name of the method, but it's just going to do something a little bit different in the child class than in the parent class. So the objects instantiated as students, when you run the introduce object, they're going to do things pertaining to a student. Then I have a new method that we did not have before. It's called attending. So when you run this, you return the student name is attending the class. It's just something to demonstrate that you can create brand new methods that did not exist in the previous class. Likewise, add credits is an instance type of method. We're going to add credits. Add credits, of course, did not exist when we created the person class, but here we have a method called add credits. And we have get data, which is also an example of polymorphism. I'm using get data, but I'm using it a little bit different. I'm getting the data from the the parent class, right? Which is the name, the age, the city, the state. And I'm going to then also assign to that data, because remember, this method, get data from the parent class, returns a dictionary. And the dictionary, I'm going to call it data in this case, right? And I'm going to add two more items to the dictionary, one with key value student ID, and I'm going to assign the value of student ID to the key student ID, and the credits value, I'm going to assign it to a new key called credits. So when I return data, I'm going to be getting back a dictionary that not only includes the items and values from that were defined in the parent class, but also that are defined in the student class. So it's a little bit richer. It's a little bit different. Therefore, it's polymorphism because I'm modifying get data. So let's run this so that we tell our computer that we have a class student. By now, I have already ran the previous code, so it already knows about person. So if I go back, you can see that the code has already ran above this notebook. So first thing I'm going to do is instantiate a student. I'm going to call it student1, although in this example, I'm only going to use one student, but I'm going to stay with the notation we were using before, where we said person 1 and person 2. I'm going to say student 1. And the student's name is Bob. He's 25 years of age, lives in San Francisco, California, 94109 zip code, and has 10 credits. So let's go for it. Okay, so now let's get data. So the name is Bob, age is 25, city is San Francisco, state California, student ID 94109, and credits 10. So it looks very much like the previous get data. I'm showing it right before. It wrapped it because it was long, but the values of the items are the same: name, age, city, and state, just like we did before. Name, age, city, and state, but in addition to that, we have student ID and credits. How about if we add 3 credits? So this is a new method that we have for student. We're going to add 3 credits. And now let's see the data. So now we have 13 credits. Before we had 10 credits, now we have 13 credits in our student 1. How about if we make our student 1 year older? We're going to add age. So a year went by, and we're going to add age. And we're going to get age. Now it's 26. Before, the student was 25. Now the student is 26. Now what's important about what I just demonstrated is that add age is a method that was defined in the parent class. So if I go back in my student class, I don't have such a thing. I don't have add age here. It doesn't exist. It's not there. But it is. I mean, you don't see it, but it's there because it comes from the parent person class. So if I go back, just to remind you, if I go back to person has a method that is called add age, and all it does, it goes to the attribute underscore age and adds 1 to it. So that's exactly what we did here. And just like that, we can use all the other attributes and properties from person. They will apply in student just the same. You can use them just the same. You inherited all of those methods and ability to use attributes. It works just the same. So with that, I conclude this vignette. I hope you found it useful, and I hope that it's going to set you on into the right path in your journey to learning Python. And now with the ability to do OOP, object-oriented Python, your programming is going to be better, more powerful, cleaner, easier to read, more efficient, and you're just going to enjoy it even better. So for now, I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye-bye.